2, 1, now.
Good evening. Welcome to the July 13th, 2020 City of Berkeley Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. I'll call the meeting now to order, and we'll start with saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Schluto, could we have the roll call vote, or excuse me, the roll call, please?
Board Member Allen?
Yes, here.
Board Member Butts? Board Member Gesund?
Here.
Board Member Krug?
Here.
Board Member McAlpine?
Here.
Board Member Euler?
Here.
Alternate Board?
Here.
Chair Evans?
Here. Okay, we do have a quorum. The quorum on this board is 7. With that, I'll move on to our next item, the approval of agenda. I don't see any changes that are needed with the agenda. And any board members or staff have any suggested changes? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Move to approve the agenda. Motion to approve.
Okay, Mr. Gesund with a motion to approve. Mr. Allen, I believe you were seconding that?
Yes, I was.
Okay, any discussion? Ms. Schluto?
Gesund?
Yes.
Krug?
Yes.
McAlpine?
Yes.
Euler?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes. All right, we've all received a copy of the meeting minutes for May 11th. Did anyone have any proposed changes to those? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Support. I'd make a motion, yes, or second Ms. Ward's motion.
Okay, Ms. Ward with a motion to approve as submitted, seconded by Vice Chair McAlpine. Any discussion? Okay, Ms. Schluto?
Krug?
Yes.
McAlpine?
Yes.
Euler?
Abstain.
Ward?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Gesund?
Yes. Okay, the minutes are approved. So the first item for our agenda is an interpretation for commercial message for painted mural. The applicant is Tamika Maybe. Is the applicant here?
Yes.
Ms. Maybe here? Yes?
Miss Maybe, you're muted.
I see you there on the screen. Okay.
She is there, yes. Okay, well,
Ms. Maybe, we cannot hear you. We just want to make sure that you can hear us and that you have an opportunity to participate.
Miss Maybe, you're on mute.
Is that better?
There you go.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay, great. Okay, Ms. Schluto, could you give the board a summary of the agenda item number 1?
Yes, I'd like to reference my review letter that I included in your packet. This is a request to interpret the ordinance related to murals or works of art. According to our sign ordinance, section 94-2, a mural or work of art is defined as any mural or work of art that does not contain a commercial message to be determined by the Zoning Board of Appeals. Ms. Maybe is the owner and operator of Salon Simply Beautiful, located at 2665 Coolidge Highway. She's interested in putting a mural on the side of her building that faces south. Would be viewable if you're going northbound on Coolidge. She contacted the DDA director, Jennifer Finney, in order to move forward with the DDA mural program. That is something that does not require city board approval, zoning board of appeals approval. That is exclusively through the DDA review process through the design committee. The design committee ultimately felt that the manner in which the mural, while beautiful, was going to be used in their branding and merchandising materials, and therefore it constituted a commercial message. So we bring this item to you to determine if the merchandising and the branding of the mural to be used in promotional and for sale merchandise is considered a commercial message. This is kind of a two-parter. If it is deemed to be a commercial message, then we would move on to item number 2, in which the applicant is requesting a variance for a sign for the mural to be put on the side of the building as a sign, wall sign. I have Jennifer Finney is here from the DDA, and she'd be able to answer any questions related to the mural program, and I would be able to answer any questions that you have related to this item and the interpretation related to the commercial message.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Schluto. Do any board members have any questions for staff? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Mabey, we've all received a copy of your application. We've received every page. And if there's anything you'd like to share with us, you may do so now.
Okay. Well,
And this would be, excuse me, and this would be specific to the interpretation. If we do end up moving on to item 2, I'll give you a chance to speak about that, but this is specifically for the interpretation part.
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay? Because I'm getting an echo.
Yes, Miss Maybe, do you have 2 screens or 2 volumes on at the moment? It sounds as though the monitor next to you, whatever you're looking at, might be on.
Okay.
Can you mute one of them?
Is that better?
Much better. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Put this here. Okay. You would think that I would be used to Zoom meetings by now, so I apologize. So yeah, first, as far as the interpretation of the mural, yeah, it's a beautiful mural that I worked really, really hard at trying to bring a beautiful mural to my building. Of course, I worked with my artists who we came together to work together as far as, you know, what would be the best message that, you know, he and I both wanted to convey. And I just really wanted something beautiful and eye-catching. So we came together, and the artist came up with a beautiful mural design that we both agreed on, that, you know, paid homage to our Metro Detroit area. It paid homage to beautiful women. It paid also homage to like our area as far as being a part of like the Motor City capital. And we just really want to play on that, and also to convey someone who is thinking, whether thinking about changes, thinking about moving forward, how to be, you know, more of a thinker. So we came up with this beautiful rendering, and I thought it was a great render. As the members DDA has suggested, that it is a beautiful mural. And, you know, during the process of our mural, we came into question about a paragraph in the mural application that reads signing over copyright issue, and that myself and also the artist will no longer have ownership or copyright of our mural. And therein lies where our differences, or where the problems began.
Thank you very much. Do any members of the board have any questions for the applicant? Okay, I don't hear any questions for the applicant. This is a public hearing, so at this point, I'll open this up to the public to speak. Now, any member from the public can speak. To speak during the public comment, which is now, participants in the webcast can utilize the raise hand function by selecting Manage Participants on the bottom of your dashboard, and then select the More button in the bottom right-hand corner. Our moderator will call your name aloud and unmute you so that you can speak. For those of you that have called in, you can be placed in the queue for public comment by selecting *9. Our moderator will announce the last 4 digits of your phone number for recognition and unmute you so that you can speak. Participants will have 3 minutes to speak as they would if we were meeting in person. Once your 3 minutes are up, you will be muted by our moderators. Additionally, comments can be submitted prior to or at this time to zoning@berkeleymish.net, where residents and community members can submit public comments as well. Your email must be able to be read in less than 3 minutes. Given the circumstances with virtual space, we may not be able to read through all of the email comments, but know that we will have them stored and acknowledged on the public record. To participate in public comment, you can dial by phone at 1-312-626-6799 and enter the meeting ID 952-8278-4200. At this time, we'll review public comments. Aaron, can you begin with any emails we've received prior to the meeting?
Yes, we did receive 2 emails, and I will read them in their entirety. The first one, to whom it may concern, we object to both a large painted wall sign covering the outside wall, and we object to a painted mural. Perhaps such signage may be appropriate for Eastern Market in Detroit, but this type of signage is not harmonious with the residential and commercial areas of Berkeley. And this was signed Eugene and Georgia Dixon. The second was received July 6th to Aaron Schluto and who else it may concern. Please consider this letter of support for granting the 2 variances requested by the owner of Salon Simply Beautiful, operating a salon at 2665 Coolidge Highway. My office is the closest business in proximity to Salon Simply Beautiful here in Berkeley. As I have observed new businesses come into the area, I have observed several businesses with large, beautiful murals painted along their brick exterior. I understand that Miss Maybe would like to paint a large mural along the south wall of her building. I trust the mural will be in good taste, and like the other businesses with beautiful murals, I anticipate that the mural will be likewise well received and will positively contribute to the aesthetic of the city of Berkeley. In closing, I support the 2 variance requests. My law office shares the south wall with the business. Very yours truly, Stacy Giske.
Thank you. Ms. Mathis, do we have anyone waiting in queue to deliver public comment?
I am seeing nothing at this time, Chairman.
Okay.
Oh, wait, sorry, 1 second. Somebody did just raise their hand. Sir, just because I don't know if your handle is the correct name title, if you could just state your name and place of residency. When I unmute you, you have 3 minutes to speak, okay? Go ahead and unmute you. Maybe. There you go. Go ahead.
First and foremost, I would like to thank the board for taking this time to review this request. We understand that everybody's time is precious. I am the artist, Fell 3000 Feet, who developed the artwork for Miss Maybe, and I would like to give you some input on my perspective of the piece and why we developed it and the way we developed it. The idea is supposed to create thought, but we didn't want to go with something brash. If you've seen the mural in its entirety, we did a full rendering. It is surrounded by, flowers, and there's no real branding on it. We initially were going to put the word beautiful on, but then took the actual name off of the actual mural. Now, the reason for that is because the piece said everything that we wanted it to say without having to get involved in any kind of signage issues. And we wanted to be very aware of the surroundings. I feel that this mural would be a benefit to the community and also would bring a lot of interest into that specific area, as it has for almost every single mural that we've done. It brings a lot of foot traffic and a lot of positive energy. Also, we've never experienced a situation where there was a community or a city asking for ownership of those, as it is different from everything that we've ever experienced in intellectual property law. And I felt like if Miss Maybe is the one producing the finances for said mural, should she not have the right to put it on a coffee cup if she wanted to? Not necessarily merchandising for sale, but for promotion. That's where I stand on it. We would really love to have this in your community and feel it could be a benefit if you so see that this variance could be offered to us. That's really all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Mathis, do we have anyone else waiting for public comment?
Not at this time.
Okay. Well, at this time then, I will close public comment. Before I bring it back to the board, I do have one question for the applicant. Ms. Maybe, you indicate in your application, images of the mural will be used on our website, social media, as well as other promotional materials. Is that still the case?
Yes, that is still the case.
Thank you. Okay.
And I just like to also, if I can, sir, when I speak of promotional materials, oftentimes in our salon, we do, perhaps maybe fundraisers. We do a lot of events as far as our breast cancer events. We do a lot of promotional things to help with things that we give back into our community. And so what I mean by promotional, that kind of is a broad stretch on what I don't want anyone to think that it's just for promotional, anything for sale. It could be for fundraising. It could also be for gifts as the definition of promotional.
Okay.
Or a public flyer.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Ward, I see you have a question.
Yes, sir. I was wondering if we wanted to also read into the record the letter from Jennifer Finney, who is the executive director of the Berkeley DDA, since she provided an overview per the DDA.
Well, certainly if the board in its entirety would like to do that, we can do that. I believe that letter is not a public comment, but rather one of the numerous pages of the application. And I guess if the board wants to read it in, but we've all seen it, presumably we've all taken the time to look at it, and I'm just not sure what purpose that would serve. But if any board member would like that to be done, I guess we could take a motion and do that.
I would just, the response letter from Jennifer Finney was more to give some background of the review process that design committee and she had worked on through the DDA mural program. Given that it is a program that she oversees, and community development really isn't a part of that. So that's why her review and her letter is included in that. So if you have questions,
so this is just to give us some background on that, yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. Kind of how we got there and what happened in the past. Okay. Will that work for you, Ms. Ward?
Yes.
Thank you.
That's fine. Thanks.
All right. We'll do any I'll entertain board member discussion on this. Ms. McAlpine.
I just have one more question for Ms. Maybe. So I understand you want to use the image in promotional materials, but what is your intention regarding selling merchandise or selling items with that image on them?
Thank you, and I can appreciate that. So our Salon Simply Beautiful is a hair salon. Our focus is hair, period. Is what we do. But by signing away over copyright issues or signing away our copyright and rights to the mural, then technically that will hold myself and also the artist. Well, we will not be able to use it for our websites. We will not be able to use it for our social media platforms. We will not be able to put a picture of this technically in a book for other people to see the mural. We would not be able to put it on our pamphlet information. So that's the part of promotional. That goes along with everything else as far as like our website. That is promotional. When you signing over your rights and ownership, then that takes away everything that we have, even for future use. If we decide we want to, use it in a manner where we're doing perhaps a fundraiser, and we may want to ask people to take pictures of the mural, or anyone else to enjoy, it just takes the ownership away for myself and also the artist. So that is what I mean or wrote about as far as promotional.
So then is the intention, so I guess I see two different things. One is to be able to use it on your website, your social media, your brochures, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
But is it your intention to someday take that image and put it on a coffee mug, if you will, or a t-shirt and sell that?
No, not at all.
Okay.
If I may, Ms. Mabey, when we had these discussions before, that was something that you had conveyed, is that you wanted to use it for sale merchandise. You specifically said that you wanted to put it on coffee mugs, t-shirts, tote bags, things of that
Correct.
nature.
Correct, and you are absolutely right. In our very initial conversation, when I spoke with you and also Jennifer, it was that directly that I said, well, what if we want to use it on a t-shirt? What if we did want to use it on a coffee mug? I was just definitely using those as an example to get clarity on having our ownership taken away. Does that take away everything as far as doing that? But it is definitely not our intentions. I was just asking questions. Does that mean that we would not be able to do this? Will we not be able to do that? So those are some of the questions that are presented in conversation. But at the end of the day and going forward, it is not my intention to use that as anything that's sellable. I'm just questioning our ownership of the mural. And that came in part question.
Well, that kind of changes the discussion item that we have here, because the interpretation here is we're looking at is the commercial message. And you were, in our discussions with Ms. Vinnie, we had said all along that you could use it on your social media page, you could use it in those types of materials. A lot of other businesses in Berkeley do. However, when it came to using it as a branding technique for your merchandise, to put it on your tote bags, your coffee mugs, then it became a commercial message for advertising your business. That changed the whole conversation.
Well,
and when we continued that conversation, you said that's what you wanted to do, which is why we're here now.
Well, let me be very, very clear. That is not what I want to do. That is not what I want to do. When I definitely spoke about that, when I asked that be taken out of the mural application process, because we could not move forward signing the application away our copyright and right issues to the mural. So then I began to question, well, if you sign away, if I complete the mural application as it stands, that leaves myself or the artist, well, anything. That's it, that's done. So those are just some of the questions that I did talk about, but it was just in general conversation when you're asking someone to sign over their rights. We're spending money on an investment. Can we not own it? Why do we have to give that ownership to Berkeley or the DDA? This is something that we are spending our money on and investing. Should we not have our own ownership? That is really the message, not about sellable. If I said that, let me be clear, I misspoke on that. That was many, things that I asked, what if this, what if that? But let's be clear, that is not my goal. I just want to be able to protect myself and also the artist in the future.
Thank you. Okay.
So that then changes this whole discussion, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe Ms. Finney can speak a little bit about this ownership thing, but the issue here with the interpretation of the commercial message is strictly to do with the fact that you wanted to use it for your sellable merchandise and make a profit from that. That's what the crux of this was, and that was what we discussed in our discussion related to coming before the ZBA. The ownership thing, that's a separate issue
I would
related
agree.
to the CBA thing.
With the
So-
ownership, and Aaron, if I could, with the ownership and copyright, I'm not sure this board is going to find that's an issue. I think the salient issue here could be whether or not the image portrays a commercial message. And depending on the use of the message, this board could find that. And if they do find that, we might find that it is a sign and we have to move on to number 2. Otherwise, we consider it a mural. With that being said, do any other board members have any thoughts or comments on this? Mr. Allen?
Yes, I understand as well as anybody about creating a brand. This, and admittedly, by the applicant, they want to create a brand by having this mural, and it is a gorgeous mural. You know, I don't know if there's any writing on it or not. That doesn't make any difference at this point. It's a gorgeous mural, but if that becomes their brand, it's a sign.
I concur, and I believe that I concur.
Okay.
Do any other board members have any other comments or thoughts on this?
Can we defer to Ms. Finney to get her interpretation based upon the change in the request from the applicant that we've just uncovered?
Well, I think it's this board's job to make the interpretation based on the application that we have in front of us. And so the DDA has opined in terms of their standards, but we have our standards that we have to consider. But certainly if the board wants to hear about that, we can do that. Mr. Allen.
Yes, when we talk about ownership rights, I mean, I'm sensitive to this because I'm a musician. I don't turn my ownership rights of my product over to anyone because I want to be able to sell it and I want to be able to make money off of it. And those are the two things there. And I think, and I'm just surmising that the reason that the ownership of these murals revert back to the city and the DDA is so they don't become a sign and give someone the leeway to open up the door and sell all of this merchandise.
But if we look back, I mean, that's why I would prefer to defer to Ms. Finney, because as I'm reading what she wrote here, I think the question becomes the fact that there is sellable merchandise. If I'm reading her, the applicant is intending to use proposed rendering as a mural on the side of the building, addition to using it as sellable merchandise. By incorporating this artwork rendering into merchandise, it shifts from a public art to branding and advertising. With this shift, the rendering becomes a commercial sign or commercial message, but there's no, her company name is not on there. There's no tagline. There's nothing but then an image. So the mural program was created to develop artwork for the public to enjoy. If this program enhances, I mean, as I'm reading this, and if she is stating here for the record, she's not going to use this image on anything that is sellable, and she's not going to make money off the image, then I don't know that it wouldn't have stayed with the DDA. I guess is my question, and that's why I was asking for the interpretation.
Ms. Ward.
That was the reason why I asked if we wanted to include Ms. Finney's information that she provided to the zoning board. I believe the reason we are here is because it was determined by the DDA that this was not a mural, but rather fell into the category of a sign. And in my opinion, for that reason, this is why we are discussing this evening. I may be mistaken, Aaron. Is that kind of the reason we're here on item number 1? That if the DDA had said, yes, you can put up a mural, we would not be having this discussion.
Yes, I mean, that was something that Jennifer and I had spoken about when the applicant decided she wanted to move forward. And, you know, Jennifer's here, and I think we should hear from her, of course. And I just want to draw attention because this idea of the commercial message being about wording for a sign. In my review letter, I also give the definition of a commercial message, and it says any wording, symbol, image, shape, picture, or combination thereof. Representation that directly or indirectly names, advertises, or calls attention to a business, good, service, institution, person, activity, location, or idea. So based on that definition with the shape, the picture, the image, being that it calls to advertise a business solely on the fact that the applicant had articulated to us that their intent was to use the image of the mural on sellable merchandise to make profit. But please, Ms. Finney, you want to jump in here?
Yeah, go, Ms. Finney, I was going to defer to you. Clearly, several of the members of the board want to hear from you. So if you'd like to add to this or respond to any of the concerns that have been raised by the board members, feel free to do so.
Yes, good evening. So originally why this was brought to ZBA is because in having several conversations with the applicant, they indicated that they wanted to use this mural in sellable merchandise. So from a DDA perspective, that then shifts this mural from public art to a commercial message, which is a sign. So because of that, then it's not eligible for the DDA mural program. So that was the intent. That's why it didn't go through the DDA, because it doesn't meet all the criteria, and that's why, you know, it's presented to you tonight. Had, you know, the applicant said that they were not going to use this on sellable merchandise, it would have stayed with the DDA, and we would have worked, you know, with the applicant on, you know, the copyright verbiage. And just so this group kind of has a short and sweet version of why we have that copyright verbiage in the agreement is initially when this program was rolled out, I believe it was back in 2017, we actually did not have that copyright in there. In one of the first murals that we had up in Berkeley, there was someone strolling down the streets in Berkeley. They loved one of the murals, took a picture, posted it online, and then the artist saw it online and then came back to the DDA and had an issue with that. So we met with an attorney, the DDA has an attorney, and we came up with that verbiage for copyright. So any artist and building or business owner who has a mural, that artwork is in essence the DDA's, so we can use it on social media, website, and any print or digital advertisements. Through the mural program, we encourage our businesses to have the mural on their website, on social media. They can definitely use it as a tool. They just can't use it to sell.
Thank you. Ms. Ward.
In Jennifer, Ms. Finney's letter, the fourth paragraph, with Salon Simply Beautiful's intention of incorporating the rendering in saleable merchandise, it puts a timestamp on it. If for any reason Salon Simply Beautiful decides to move to a new location, this building would have an irrelevant mural on it that a new property owner or business would have to remove. And that strikes me as if the signage, if this is considered signage as opposed to a mural, then we are dating the mural, and it could not be used, nor could it stay up on the building once a new owner took possession of the building of 2665 Coolidge Highway.
But isn't
Ms.
that
McAlpine.
if there's sellable merchandise? I mean, I think her whole letter was written on the premise that it's sellable merchandise. If, once again, I'm going to state, if the petitioner says, and we put it on the record, and that is a condition, is that they do not sell it, it becomes a mural just like any other mural in this city. Am I correct? Ms. Finney or Ms. Schloto?
If they, on the record state that they're not going to use this mural on any sellable merchandise, it will then go back to the DDA. Obviously, there's that copyright, verbiage that will, have to work through, but then it would be eligible for our mural program.
Okay, with that explanation, then I would ask, what is the proper next steps? Does the petitioner then withdraw the request? Do we make a motion to?
Well, I'm not sure we're there because it's what I'm hearing is that if it falls within the DDA program, copyright has to be signed over. But I heard specifically from the applicant that that's not what they wanted to do.
But I guess I interpret that as that then becomes a conversation between the applicant and the DDA.
Correct. That would be
Yeah.
my understanding.
Versus us. I mean, we don't impose ourselves on that copyright conversation. It becomes something that falls within the DDA's ability to come to an agreement with the artist, the business, the property owner, and Ms. Finney.
Right. So our decision tonight is either we can opine that it's a sign or not a sign. I would think if we opine that it's not a sign, they can go back to the DDA.
Okay, so that's what we would do. Okay.
Yeah, that would be if we opine that it wasn't a sign.
But I guess my whole question is, though, the premise was that the applicant was requesting this to be sellable merchandise. That's not the case. So if that was something that was discovered or was clarified better in the process, we would never even be sitting here tonight. Correct?
That's very possible.
That
Yes.
is correct.
And so, Ms. Schluto, yes.
No, it's just that was a discussion point that we had quite a bit with the applicant about using it as sellable merchandise, and it was articulated multiple times, which is why we're here. This wasn't just a willy-nilly moving forward to the ZBA. This was
No, you. It sounds like you vetted it well.
Right. So
With the
given that, if there's not sellable merchandise, you would have never brought it in front of us. So I don't know that it's really. I mean, it now becomes a mural.
Well, and I think that's what the board is being asked to decide as a whole.
correct.
So if any members have any comments, and I see Ms. Ward with her hand, Ms. Maybe I do see your hands up, but unless some of the board members have questions, and that's okay, but we have, we can always bring you back, so to say, if we have questions for clarification. Ms. Ward.
If the applicant has told us that she is not going to use the mural for saleable merchandise, I would like to see something in writing or a commitment on the part of the applicant saying, I will not do this. And in my opinion, then the whole matter can go back to the DDA for discussion.
I would agree to that. And does that then become part of the agreement that the petitioner makes with the DDA, that they cannot sell that? Is that in the agreement somewhere?
I think I have the answer to that question, but Mr. Allen, I'll try to answer that question, but I see your hands up, so I'll come to you next. It would be my thought that because this question is before the board, that this board would want to see that information or somehow make it part of our decision. And then, presuming that, and I'm just reading from Ms. Ward, what you and Ms. McAlpine are saying, that you're leaning towards this not being a sign, but rather being a mural. At that point, the board would put it as part of the record, and then, yes, it would go back. Well, we would determine that this was a mural based on that information, and then whatever process follows through. I believe that answers the question.
Right. I think we've basically already decided it's a mural because.
Well, we haven't voted yet. I don't think we have.
But Ms. Finney would have kept it in her ball, in her court, versus bringing it to us. If the understanding was there would be no sellable merchandise, we wouldn't even be talking about this. The only reason we would talk about it is if we drove down the street and we saw it. So I guess.
Right. So the process here is because if we have an application before us, we should act on it. We should take some official action one way or another. So I think we're obligated to do that. Now, the situation has changed. We have more information since the understanding, since it was submitted, which is the reason why we have these meetings. We can make the opinion either way. I think everyone here has a pretty good idea that if we decide that it's not a mural, that it'll just go back to the DDA, whatever that process is. Mr. Allen.
Yes. If we decide that it is a mural, I think part of the motion and the finding of fact needs to be that none of the imagery from this will be used for commercial purposes. No t-shirts, no coffee mugs, none of that kind of stuff. If we decide that it's a sign, that's a whole nother that's a whole nother ball of wax. I mean, you know, the sign for this building, and I checked this with Aaron today, a sign for a building that size would be limited to 84 square feet, 84 square feet. If it were allowed to be painted the way it is right now, it's 840 square feet. So this is a very sensitive issue both ways.
Sure.
But would this be approved as a mural, Ms. Finney? Would you would be having this conversation with them as if they were doing a mural, and all those things now don't fall under us, they fall under the DDA? Or am I missing something?
No, yeah, Ms. Finney, could you answer that possibly?
Well, technically this would fall as a mural, yes. So with the DDA's mural program process, the design committee reviews the applications, meet with the applicant, can have an interview and meet with the artist as well. They then approve it to come to the DDA board. If they, decide not to approve it, normally they then go back to the artist and the applicant so they can tweak the artwork so it fits within the DDA's criteria. Then usually after that committee would then approve it, it goes to the board, and then the board has the final say whether we can either approve it or we don't approve it. So under that context, it would be considered a mural.
Okay.
Which I guess my next question would be then, given it would be considered a mural, do we even have the authority to dictate anything about this? Because then it becomes a different agreement. It becomes an agreement with the DDA. So I don't even know what our authority or oversight is of this project, given the petitioner has stated they are not going to sell anything.
No, and if this board agrees that this is a mural, then it would be out of our hands. That would be it.
Then I guess I'll make a motion to what do I have to make the motion to approve, to deny this, to approve this as a mural, or deny this as a sign?
To interpret that either is or isn't a mural.
Okay, I would make a motion that the Zoning Board of Appeals has interpreted the petition to place the mural on 2665 Coolidge as a mural, and therefore it should be decided by the DDA.
Okay, we do have a motion that to interpret this as not a sign, as a mural. Correct, Ms. McAlpine? Gotcha. Do we have a second on that? Do I have a second on Ms. McAlpine's motion?
Support.
Mr. Jason, support? Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman, we do have a couple of board members with their hands raised.
Yeah, I see Mr. Allen, and then who else is up after him?
Nope.
Well, Mr. Allen, go ahead.
No, I don't have my hand up. I did, but I don't.
Okay.
Board member Gazund and board member Euler.
Gotcha. Okay, board member Gazan.
I'm a little confused here. If we interpret that this is a mural, then it goes into the copyright issue and she loses the copyright issue to the DDA. If it's a sign, then she retains copyright of that image. Also, if she does not participate in the DDA mural program, what does that do? If she just puts the mural on her wall and just goes through the city and doesn't participate with the DDA, what does that do?
Aaron, are you able to answer that one for us, or maybe Ms. Finney?
You know, the city itself does not have a mural program itself. The DDA has their own mural program. The city itself doesn't have one. It's limited to the definition of a commercial message or not.
Okay.
We're working on amending that to make guidelines and some sort of direction for properties, especially those that are outside the DDA. But we don't have one.
Okay, so essentially,
yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Jazan. Yes.
So the DDA is her only way of getting this mural on her building.
Well, I'm not sure I heard that. I thought, anyone correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that I heard that if, in theory, they could just put it up. Is that correct? If we opine that it's not a sign, Ms. Schluto, is it correct that the city wouldn't regulate it?
We don't have anything in our ordinances or anything or our policies to regulate murals.
Okay. Mr. Jazan,
I don't have a better answer. I'm sorry, I don't.
No.
We're working on it, but
sure. No, if it's not able to be regulated by the city, I think that was Mr. Jazan's question.
Right.
Who had a question after him? And then I see Mr. Allen's hand is up.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I think I had my hand up.
All right, you're all set, Mr. Ular?
Well, so I guess I kind of echo what Ryan said in terms of being somewhat confused, but to me, the core issue to me has been that there's a fundamental change in the application. I mean, I take Erin at her word when she says that it was specifically represented to the city that, there was a commercial purpose for this. And even at the end of the applicant's comments, she did reiterate that I think it was, why should we have to give up the copyright? At some time in the future, somebody might want to do something with this. So my thought is it's just not properly before the board. If the application is fundamentally different factually, it seems like somehow or another it should be going back to the DDA, and I don't know what the mechanism to do that is. I don't know if Sue's motion quite articulates it right. I don't know that I want to say that it's a mural to get it back there, because from what I've heard, if I were to rule right, I would say no. I think there's a commercial intent still at some point. I mean, there's a reluctance to give up the copyright, which, like Mr. Allen says, it's your art. You care about it. It's beautiful. You want to make money off it. So I'm wondering whether or not we can somehow just boot it back to the DDA and how we do that.
Could we not just have the petitioner withdraw the request?
If she really means what she says, I think that's what
gets her to the DDA, and then we don't have to make any kind of ruling one way or another. And I quite honestly feel like the only way to get her there, we need to figure out a way to get her there. I'm in agreement with you.
I would like to ask her flat out right now, are you going to give up the copyright? That's a question I would have.
Okay. Mr. Allen, I know your hand is probably still up. Ms. Maybe, could you answer Board Member Ular's question?
Yes, as far as copyright and ownership, no, I would not give up ownership or copyright to something that I'm funding. So
Okay.
the answer is no, but I do not have a problem, however, putting in writing that I would not use it for sellable items at all, or promotional items in that manner.
Then doesn't this become a question of whether in the evaluation on the DDA and in their process that she agrees? And if she does not agree to the terms that the DDA has for the mural program, then we eventually we could potentially get it back. But I think she has to go through that process. I think they have to go through that process.
Mr. Allen.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. Does the applicant own the building?
Can the
I do.
applicant or she does, okay.
I do own the building.
Thank you.
I worry about if the copyright is retained. I don't worry so much about an irrelevant mural, but a mural that's owned by someone else that has a business tie to their business. This thing started out fairly simple and fairly clean, and it's turned into a whirlwind mess here because of the change, the fundamental change in the way it's presented. I can't even begin to wade through it, quite frankly, but I will.
Yeah, and my thoughts on the motion is that I'm fundamentally, while the applicants indicated that they're not going to sell anything, I still believe that the intent is to brand a business. And when you brand a business, even though you may not sell physical things, you're invariably tying that image to the business and whatever the business represents. So in my opinion, I guess I'm not convinced that this is a mural. Ms. McAlpine.
I spent almost my whole entire professional career in advertising, and I would question, when you look at that design, do you think hair salon?
Thank you.
You don't think hair, you think of an image. It could be women, it could be counseling for women, it could be advocating for training for them to be thinkers, to be career development. I mean, it could be a multitude of things. I don't see hair salon when I look at the picture. And I still would say, given the fact that we have new information, that information would never even have brought this in front of us, we should stop talking about it, let her go the route of the DDA, because she needs to decide the copyright. I mean, that's the discussion that they have. I don't know that we have an authority over copyright.
I don't think we do.
So that's why I'm saying, if the quickest way to get rid of this is because, and I don't mean it in a negative way, but if we should have never had this, she should just withdraw her motion and begin the conversation with the DDA and deal with their copyright issues and figure out if they can come to an agreement. And if they can't, then they have to figure out what the next step is. And if that next step comes back to us, then we're going to be in a different situation.
Ms. Ward.
Mr. Evans, would you be willing to ask the applicant if she would withdraw her petition, her application for one, the interpretation, and then the second item, which is before us tonight as well?
I can ask, but I do have one question for staff, and this, depending on the answer, it could help us all, it couldn't. Ms. Schluto, based on what we've heard, does staff interpret, if they're prepared, does staff interpret this as a sign or a mural? Has the opinion of the zoning administrator changed? Because I sense that's why this is before us.
Yes. Well, like I said, in our previous conversations, the intent was to use this image as part of their branding and merchandising for sale, for profit, part of their business. And we had discussed this many times, but if the applicant had come forward with just the mural, just the artwork, just the rendering, and I talked to Ms. Finney about this, then it wouldn't be considered a sign or an advertisement. Given that, as Ms. McAlpine said, there isn't anything there that screams that it's a hair salon. It's a beautiful mural. It's a beautiful profile. The hiccup and the problem came from the intent of what they wanted to use that image for. When it became part of their strategy or their intent to sell merchandise to gain the profit. It doesn't have to have lettering. It doesn't have to have wording on it. It doesn't have to say anything that overtly screams hair salon for that to be used as part of that that identity of that business. If you look at something like the Nike swoosh, way back when, that wasn't something that would automatically scream, work out, any type of physical activity. But now that those two are synonymous with each other, and when you look at trying to sell the merchandise with the image, then it becomes part of their commercial message. It becomes part of their overall signage. So that's where the reason why this was coming before the ZBA for this discussion on whether or not it was considered a commercial message.
Thank you. Okay. So Ms. Ward, your question was, would the applicant consider withdrawing?
Correct. And if that would be the case, then the whole matter would go back to the DDA. And it would be, but to answer Mr. Gazun's question, the matter of copyright would have to be handled between the applicant and the DDA, not the city.
Correct.
Correct. The city doesn't have anything to do with that. The copyright, that's not an issue that we were discussing here. I know it kind of came into play when we were talking about it using as a branding because they wanted to use it for their for any future monetary gain. But that's not something the ZBA would be tasked to review or decide upon.
Right. Okay. So I think, Aaron, what I'm hearing from you is that if the applicant chooses to withdraw, based on the things that you've heard tonight, it would be considered a mural. Is that correct?
Well, there would be things that would have to be worked out in terms of making sure that there is certainty through the DDA mural program that that the image would not be used for any for sale commercial items. And Ms. Finney, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's part of the application process, correct?
So it is, yes. It's not actually explicitly written in the mural application, but that is one of the criteria that the DDA looks for.
Okay.
So that would have to be something that they would agree upon in order to move forward in that.
Sure. Okay. Well, with that being said, don't any of the board members have any objection if we ask Ms. Maybe if she'd consider withdrawing? Okay. Ms. Maybe? Oh, you're muted.
You're muted.
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Is that better? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So I would just like to add that we've been in Berkeley now for going on maybe 11 years now. We have had a logo. We have had our logo on our building that entire time. The mural does not brand the salon. We have had our logo to brand us. We're not looking to make any changes at all to our logo. We are actually very well known from our current logo that we have had for almost, over a decade now. The mural has no intent to brand the salon at all. I just wanted to be very clear on that. Also, part two of that, yes, in our conversations, and I just really want to hit home with this, that I had many variables on what does it mean when an artist and the owner sign away copyright issues. And I gave many examples of that. What does it mean if you sign away your copyright issues? And I gave many examples of that because I needed to get clarification. Really, what does that mean? And when I asked for clarification on that, that's when the DDA decided that I should not be a part of the mural program because I did not want and will not sign away copyright issues or even for the artists. And I just really wanted to make that very, very clear. And again, I'm not using the mural at all for sellable items. That was a conversation that I had. But at the end of the day, that's not what I meant. And I apologize if that came off, that I'm using it in that manner because I'm most certainly not.
Okay. Thank you. Well, we've got a motion on the table with a second, and that motion is that this is considered a mural. So is there any additional board discussion? And if not, I'm going to call the vote.
If I may just have a little bit more clarification on that motion, and that
Sure.
It's considered a mural and not a commercial message, because that's a key component of the definition of a mural.
Okay, and just I'll defer to Ms. McAlpine and Ms. Ward. Is that your understanding? Is that? Ms. McAlpine is, Ms. Schluto's, okay. Ms. Ward,
I'm considering this a mural and not a commercial message.
gotcha. And Ms. Ward, your agreement with that is the motion seconder? Oh, you're muted. Ms. Ward, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
No, we can't hear you.
Ms. Ward, you're still having audio issues? Oh, try speaking now. Oh, no.
Will a simple thumbs up do? Or thumbs down?
No, we can't hear you. I'm so sorry.
Ms. Ward, I'm sorry. Ms. Mathis, might there be a way we could troubleshoot this?
My only recommendation, oh, and it looks like she did it, would be to log off and then restart. Erin, if you want to shoot me her contact information, I can give her a call.
Is that better?
Oh, we can hear you.
Hello.
Yes.
I was not the one that seconded the motion. It was Mr. Gesund that seconded
Oh,
Mr. Galpin's motion.
my apologies.
I'm
Mr.
okay. I'm okay with what
Okay.
was changed.
All right, thank you. All right, well, with that being said, I'll call the question. Ms. Schluto?
Roll call. Okay. McAlpine,
Yes.
Bueller,
No.
Ward,
No.
Allen,
No.
Gesund,
Yes.
Krug,
Joe, we didn't hear you.
You're muted. You're muted, Joe.
Do you hear me now?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Evans,
No. Okay, so the interpretation that it is not a mural, or that it is a mural, has failed.
so it has been deemed to be a commercial message.
Yes, do we have to
Therefore,
make an
it would be-
affirmative finding on that, or is it just by, that we determined that it's not a mural, that it is a commercial message, it's just by default?
Just by default.
Okay, all right.
So that would mean that the rendering or the design of the art, gotta call it something else, but is subject to the sign requirements of the zoning ordinance, which brings us to item 2.
Right. And Ms. Shalula, if you could just give us since we had a lengthy discussion there, a brief overview on that variance request.
Yes, let me just grab my little letter. Okay. Yep, so I'd like to reference my July 8th, 2020 review letter, in which the applicant has requested 2 variances related to wall sign requirements. The first would be that the sign faces the south side of the building, which does not front a main street. Per the ordinance, a sign is permitted for each street frontage. It faces a south-facing parking lot and not Coolidge. There is an existing sign on Coolidge right now to advertise the business wall sign, as well as window decal sign. The applicant is asking for a second variance from the schedule of regulations, or I'm sorry, from the sign ordinance, in which a wall sign is permitted to be installed or painted in an area that is larger than what is permitted. In the Coolidge district, wall signs are permitted in an area of 10% of the adjoining wall, or up to 100 square feet. The applicant is proposing for the rendering of the sign to run the full length and width and height, not width, length and height of the wall, which is about 840 square feet. So by the definition of the sign, they would only be permitted 84 square feet. So they're looking for an area variance as well as a wall sign that does not face a public or private street. I provided the standards of review and the review criteria for both variances in the review letter. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Do any members of the board have any questions for Ms. Schluto? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Maybe, now we're on to the variance portion of your request. And would you like to address the board in regards to why you believe the variance is necessary and how it meets our standards?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, I'm Chris. I'm Nikki's husband. I don't know if you can catch a corner of me here in the picture. All right. So, at the end of the day, we're just looking for a way, to get the artwork on the wall. And we really went to the option of appealing, for a variance, as a suggestion, from the DDA, from both Aaron and Jennifer, kind of as a last resort. We really intended, to work through the DDA and have, the mural approved, but we really just got hung up on the copyright issue and didn't really know where to turn. So at the recommendation, of Jennifer and also Aaron, we're here tonight. Looking at the zoning rules, I mean, this is obviously is a stretch, but again, we're just looking for any vehicle, to try to get this nice artwork on the building, and we're getting hung up in a lot of minutia and a lot of really negative energy here, and we're not really accomplishing, adding any sort of artwork to the community. So I'll just leave it at that. That seems to be the direction we're headed, and I'm worried if it goes back to the DDA, we'll spend another 2 years there. So we're just looking for a way to make this happen, and I hope everyone can just step up and work with us and try to make this happen.
Okay. Do any members of the board have any questions for the applicant? Okay. Hearing none, I'll move on to the public hearing portion of the meeting. This is a public hearing. The public will have the opportunity to speak during public comments. Participants in the webcast can utilize the raise hand function by selecting Manage Participants on the bottom of your dashboard and select the More button in the bottom right-hand corner. Our moderator will call your name aloud and unmute you so that you can speak. For those that have called in, you can be placed in the queue for public comment by selecting *9. Our moderator will announce the last 4 digits of your phone number for recognition and unmute you so that you can speak. Participants will have 3 minutes to speak as they would if we were meeting in person. Once your 3 minutes are up, you will be muted by our moderators. Additionally, comments can be submitted prior to or at this time to zoning@berkeleymish.net, where residents and community members can submit public comments as well. Your email must be able to be read in less than 3 minutes. Given the circumstances with the virtual space, we may not be able to read through all of the email comments, but know that we will have them stored and acknowledged on the public record. To participate in public comment, you can dial by phone at 1-312-626-6799 and enter the meeting ID 952-8278-4200. So at this time, we will review public comments. Aaron, can you begin with any comments we've received prior to the meeting?
Yes, the only comments I have, were related to, they're the same two that, I had read previously. I can read those again, just so they're on the record for both public hearings.
Sure.
To whom it may concern, we object to both a large painted wall sign covering the outside wall, and we object to a painted mural. Perhaps such signage may be appropriate for Eastern Market in Detroit, but this type of signage is not harmonious with the residential and commercial areas of Berkeley. This is from Eugene and Georgia Dixon. And again, the second letter received to Aaron Schluto and whom else it may concern. Please consider this letter of support for granting the 2 variances requested by the owner of Salon Simply Beautiful, operating a salon at 2665 Coolidge Highway. My office is the closest business in proximity to Salon Simply Beautiful here in Berkeley. As I have observed new businesses come into the area, I have observed several businesses with large, beautiful murals painted along their brick exterior. I understand that Miss Maybe would like to paint a large mural along the south wall of her building.
Yes.
I trust the mural will be in good taste, and like the other businesses with beautiful murals, I anticipate that the mural will be likewise well received and will positively contribute to the aesthetic of the city of Berkeley. In closing, I support the 2 variance requests. My law office shares a south wall with this business. Very yours truly, Stacy Giske.
Okay, Ms. Mathis, do we have anyone in the queue?
I don't see anyone in the queue, and looking from the screens, I don't see any public. Oh, there is one. Sir, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you and give you your 3 minutes. Oh, there you go. Go ahead.
Once again, thank you, board, for taking the time to listen to me speak to you today about this piece of work we want to do on the side of this wall. There's been some confusion about why we want to retain our ownership. Most definitely the reason why is because we don't want other people, larger entities, to try to monopolize on something. We have no intention of using the wall to make money off of it other than to just give something to the community and benefit the space. The big portion of the reason why we asked about using it for those kind of things was specifically just inquiry. A lot of confusion happens between parties and what have you, but the biggest portion of the reason why we want to retain ownership is because of that fact alone. We don't want to see the BMWs and the Mercedes-Benz of the world come in and take photographs of it, monopolize off of it, and then the owners have, been shafted on their investment. Not that they're trying to make money off of it, but we don't want to see other people come in and monopolize off of it. This has happened to me personally. I've been an artist in and around the community for 37 years. And I've had to be in some of these hearings due to the fact that somebody else has used the work in an explicit way that wasn't correct. And the only thing that helped us was owning it, having the property owner also have ownership, and making sure the intellectual property law was managed and maintained. Once again, it's not about making money, so it feels very weird to see it as a sign as opposed to a mural. And once again, I just wanted that on the record, and I will now yield the floor. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. And if I could, just a matter of procedure, I see that, well, Mr. Allen is back. I see that Ms. Ward has left. I think it's important that, if at all possible, we have the board members present for whatever discussion we need. Ms. Mathis, do we have anyone else in the queue?
I am not seeing anyone with their hands raised or sitting in the queue at this time, Chairman.
All right. So what I think we ought to do right now is give Ms. Ward a minute just to return. And then Ms. McAlpine, I see you had your hand up. Ms. Ward, you're back with us. Thank you. I'll turn this back over to the board now for any discussion. Now, actually, I won't do that yet. Since there is no one else speaking, I'll close the public hearing. Now I'll turn it back over to the board for discussion. Ms. McAlpine.
I guess I'm just still very puzzled because if you look at Doggy in the window, their mural is dogs. You know, when you look at that mural, it's something about dogs. This mural is not about a hairstyle or a hair salon. So I guess my question is, what can the petitioner do now? Because obviously the mural is not going to look right in the sizes that they would need, and I don't know that we would even give them the variance. I simply think we got into these discussions because of a procedural issue, and the application changed. So I don't know that it's our right to decide whether or not it's a sign, because if we would have, Doggy in the window sign would have never been approved by us then. And that's a beautiful mural. I mean, if that is our criteria, does it have some kind of branding? That building is screaming branding on 11 Mile Road. So that is my 2 cents. I think we're in a discussion where we should not be. I don't think we would have never even been in this discussion had they not talked about selling merchandise. Those copyright issues would have been determined between the petitioner, the artist, and the DDA, and not us. So I'm going to go back to, I don't know how we could have said that is branding, because then if that's the case, Doggy in the window should not have a mural. We need to go paint that something else tomorrow.
Okay, well, perhaps that's an issue that staff can entertain. We do have this request in front of us, and we do have some criteria that we are required to apply. My thought on this is this is a nice looking, it's beautiful looking, but I'd like to get board comments as to discussion relative to our criteria. I think that's going to be important for the record. Would any board member like to comment?
Mr. Evans, it looks
Mr. Allen,
like...
oh, yeah.
Nope, I was just going to let you know that Chairman Miles has his hands up.
Oh, yes. Okay, and I also see Mr. Allen. Mr. Ular, and then I'll defer to Mr. Allen when you're done.
I like being called Chairman Mile.
If I may interrupt real quick, Chair Evans, you've got a glare coming in from behind you, so it looks like
I'm noticing
Yeah.
that. Thank
There
you.
you Okay.
Mr. Ular. Mr. Ular, you're muted.
Sorry. I mean, I voted the other way, but I kind of largely agree with what Ms. McAlpine said. It's kind of frustrating and bizarre, but we are here because the applicant was the one who asked us to say that this was, you know, this is the step they wanted to get to. They didn't want to get thrown back to the mural and the DDA that they couldn't work something out with. So I'm a little flummoxed. I still think that the best thing would be for them to withdraw their petition and go work things out with the DDA. But I like the mural. I would like it to be there. I'm struggling with the criteria. I don't know if anybody has any ideas on that, but those are my thoughts right now.
Thank you. Mr. Allen.
Yes. Like I said before, it's a beautiful mural. I think it would look very nice there. But the problem is we've kind of tripped over our own shoelaces procedurally here. And I would like nothing more, like Mr. Ular said, than for them to withdraw the request and go back to phase one on this, because it's turning into a mess. Right now, they could have, they're asking for 840 square feet on the side of the building, if it truly is a sign, when they can only legally have 84. Well, it's 10 times the amount. And I mean, we've gotten into predicament here, and we need to find a way that we can all work together and get out of it.
Excuse me, Ms. McAlpine, and then Ms. Ward, I see your
I'll
hands up too.
defer to Ms. Ward. I've taken a lot of time already.
Okay. Ms. Ward. Oh, Ms. Ward, you're muted.
Is that better?
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can
Yes.
I have, yes, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think we offered the option of withdrawal to the applicant when we reviewed the interpretation of the commercial message. And the applicant chose not to go that route. I agree with Mr. Ular that, and Mr. Allen, that we are in a predicament and that it would be best resolved with the applicant, the artist, and the DDA, as opposed to getting the city in the middle of this.
Ms. Schluto, and then Ms. McAlpine.
I was just going to offer maybe a suggestion that we postpone these to see if there's a way we can work with the DDA, the applicant, Ms. Finney, and see if there's a way we can work through this and go back to our previous motion about the commercial message and postpone that one as well, and see if we can't fine tune this as new information has come forward about the branding and the commercial message. That might be the optimal way of moving forward.
I'm sensing that maybe as well. I think all parties have more information now than when we did when we first started this meeting. Ms. McAlpine.
I will make that motion that both agenda item number 1 and number 2 be tabled so that everyone who is involved in this decision has a clear understanding. I'm not certain the petitioner understood that if they withdrew by not withdrawing the motion, what the implications could be. So I think that is the best course of action for the petitioner. And given there's new information, I make a motion that we table or postpone or whatever, we table this petitioner's request to a further date and time in which some additional discussions can take place.
Now you're referring to item number 2. Procedurally, we have the.
Ms. Schluto said we could go back to number 1 as well, and I don't know how.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Ms. Schluto, what's your thought on that? I asked for a second.
Yeah, I think that would be the best course right now. I would like to get the input of the applicant if they would like to discuss.
I think that's fair. Ms. Ward, I see you have something you'd like to say, and then I'll certainly defer to the applicant. You're muted.
According to.
Oh, you're still muted.
Again. I'm sorry, Ms. Ward, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
According to Robert's Rules of Order, the prevailing side has to ask for a reconsideration of the previous motion. And since I was on the prevailing side, I will request that we reconsider item number 1, which is the interpretation of the commercial message for the painted mural.
Okay. I believe you are correct. So with that being said, we have a motion by Ms. Ward, and we need a second from,
Second.
we do have a second. And so with that being said, we're back to question number 1, and we have to have a vote now whether we want to reconsider that. So is there any discussion on the reconsideration? If not, I'll ask for a roll call vote. And the question is to reconsider item number 1.
Well, and my understanding is that the purpose of reconsideration is to allow a chance to table both of them. I don't want to get back into an argument about whether it's a mural again or not. That's why I'm seconding it. I don't know if that matters.
I glean that, Ms. Ward. Is that your intent?
Yes,
Okay, all right.
and that we, after we vote on this, that we consider Ms. McAlpin's motion, which would be to table to a date in the future after all parties have met again.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. We have a motion. Ms. McAlpin, I saw you were talking, but I wasn't sure if okay.
Nothing, sorry, I had visitors.
I understand. Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion to reconsider item number 1? Ms. Schluto, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Euler,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes,
Allen,
Steve, you're muted.
you're still muted, Steve.
Yes.
Gesund,
Yes.
Krug,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes. Okay, we're back to item number 1. We've already had a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion? Ms. McAlpine.
I would like to make a motion that we table the petitioner's request for item number 1 and allow more discussion between the petitioner and the DDA to see if they can move forward with the mural as requested by the petitioner without our input.
Gotcha. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
Joe, Mr. Krug, I'm sorry, seconded. Would it be beneficial for the board to table to a date certain so we did not have to re-advertise? So for example, if we were to table to the August meeting, staff would not be obligated to re-advertise this matter, and certainly if things were in a position where this didn't need to come before us, the applicant could certainly have a comfort level withdrawing. Ms. McAlpine.
I would revise my motion to include that, given that that would give enough time for the DDA and the petitioner to have the necessary discussions. If not, I would request that we move it to the September meeting.
Gotcha. Okay. Mr. Ular? You were the seconder on that, right?
I was,
Yeah, Mr. Krug.
Mr. Krug, I'm sorry, yes.
and I would second with what Ms. Alpine just changed.
Gotcha. So we've got a motion to postpone to the August meeting with the potential to push that to the September meeting if needed. Any discussion on the motion?
I would just like feedback from the applicant and I don't know, can we get more information on whether or not August is enough time or whether they want September or?
Yeah, that's a good question. Ms. Maybe?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear? August would be good, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you're okay. Sounds good.
Can we confirm with Ms. Finney that that works for the DDA as well before we proceed?
We can. Ms. Finney.
Yes, that August should work.
Okay.
Then my motion would be that we table these 2 items until the August meeting, given the time necessary for the petitioner and the DDA to work out the details regarding this, given we received new information about the request today.
Okay. Very good. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, with that being said, Ms. Schluto.
Ward,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Gesund,
Yes.
Krug,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes. Motion passed, and the matter is postponed to the August meeting. I want to thank everyone present, applicant and the board, for working through this matter and really taking the time to examine this. So our next item is other business. Do any
Nope.
members of the,
No, Mr. Evans, we still
Yes.
have to have a motion on variance request item number 2.
oh, thank you very much. Good, good. Okay. So we've had a public hearing on item number 2, and we need a motion and a second so we can proceed on that. Ms. McAlpine and then Mr. Allen.
I would like to make a motion that we postpone agenda item number 2 to our August meeting to give the petitioner and the Downtown Development Authority time to meet and discuss the new information that was brought forward in today's meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Schluto, roll call vote.
Allen,
Yes.
Gesund,
Yes.
Krug,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes. Okay, both items have been postponed to the August meeting. Thanks again, everyone, for vetting this extensively. Our next item is other business. Ms. Schluto, is there any other business?
No, I just want to mention that the master plan is moving forward. We've completed the survey, all of our focus group discussions, all of our webinars. So thank you to everyone who has who showed up for any of those and who participated, and certainly everyone who sent in their surveys. So we're working through that, and we're hoping to have some draft text to the master plan steering committee soon.
Thank you. Mr. Allen, I see you had your hand up.
Yes. Nothing of great importance. Just happy birthday to one of our fellow board members, Mr. Gesund. It's his birthday today.
Happy
Thank you.
birthday.
Birthday.
Happy birthday, Ryan.
What a way to celebrate.
Yeah. Live and look.
Okay. At this point, I'll turn the meeting over to public comments. This is the portion of the meeting where any member of the public will have the opportunity to speak on anything not related to the agenda. To speak during public comment, participants in the webcast can utilize the raise hand function by selecting manage participants on the bottom of your dashboard, and then select the more button on the bottom right hand corner. Our moderator will call your name aloud and unmute you so that you can speak. For those that have called in, you can be placed in the queue for public comment by selecting *9. Our moderator will announce the last 4 digits of your phone number for recognition and unmute you so that you can speak. Participants will have 3 minutes to speak as they would if we were meeting in person. Once your 3 minutes are up, you will be muted by our moderators. Additionally, comments can be submitted prior to or at this time to zoning@berkeleymish.net, where residents and community members can submit public comments as well. Your email must be able to be read in less than 3 minutes. Given the circumstances with the virtual space, we may not be able to read through all of the email comments, but know that we will have them stored and acknowledged on the public record. To participate in public comment, you can dial by phone at 1-312-626-6799 and enter the meeting ID 952-8278-4200. At this time, we will review public comments. Aaron, you may begin with any emails that we received prior to this meeting.
No, sir.
No emails? Okay. Are there any members of the public in the queue, Ms. Mathis?
I am not seeing anyone at this time, sir.
No emails?
Oh, we do have
Mr. Hennon?
Councilmember Hennon.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't give it a chance to give my liaison report, so.
Did I skip over that? I did skip over that. Okay, I will come back to that next. My apologies.
Okay.
Thank you for the reminder. Well, hearing that there's no one in the queue, I'll close public comment. And now we will move on to the liaison report. Councilmember Hennon.
Yes, thank you. And thank all of you for what was definitely an interesting meeting tonight. So, but first, the Planning Commission provided their annual report to council, and that summarized a lot of the cases that they've heard in the last year and their upcoming plans. As Ms. Schluto mentioned, their upcoming plans include continuing with the master plan, but one part that may be particularly of interest to this board is after that's complete, starting on a technical review of our zoning ordinances to see what kind of things we need to adopt and change to reflect what the community's vision is from the master plan. Council vacated a part of the alley at Eaton to Vincetta Garage and T-Mobile, and that's to help them with the construction of Vincetta Garage parking lot. As far as marijuana applications, the city received a total of 31, and they are going through those now. They should be scored and the results announced no later than September 29th. And then finally, I just wanted to mention council approved some rules for temporary outdoor seating and road closures, to temporarily relax some of the sign standards so that we can help our businesses to continue to operate in a safe manner in the face of COVID. So that's all I had tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, and we are at the end of our agenda. It's 8:35, and I'll adjourn the meeting. Thanks everybody for participating.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Stay safe.
Thanks everybody.